Good evening, everybody. In this session, I'm going to present a very interesting topic in Vedic astrology. And the topic is Kuja Dosham. Kuja Dosham is also called Mangal Dosham. It's something associated with the placement of planet Mars in the horoscope. Mars is called Kuja Graha, also called Mangal Graha. So one who has this dosham in the horoscope is said to be a manglik. Many a times when you get the computerized horoscope printed, you would see a word manglik, and against that it would be written either yes or no. So this is based on the placement of Mars in the horoscope. There are certain places where the placement of Mars can be benefic to an individual, and there are places where its placement can bring about unfavorable effects. So specifically, what is this Kuja Dosham? What is the intensity of it? Are there any remedies? Is there a scope for this Kuja Dosham to get nullified? We'll look at all these aspects in brief. I made a PPT presentation so that the presentation can be more vivid. So what is this Kuja Dosham? So it's based on the placement of Mars. Why Mars? What does Mars signify? Mars is a planet that is associated with courage, energy, confidence, willpower. So if the placement of Mars is not proper, one may become very aggressive. One may not have a control over his or her emotions. One may become short-tempered, may behave illogically. So all these kinds of behaviors actually lead to a kind of adverse situation in relationships. So we'll look at what is this Kuja Dosham and why is it that it is so important in marriage. So the first point that you must know is if the placement of Mars, either from the Lagna or from the Moon or from the Venus, falls in the 2nd, 4th, 7th, 8th, or 12th places or houses, you say that the person has Kuja Dosham in the horoscope. Some astrologers also consider the placement of Mars in the first position as a Mangal Dosham. But generally, these are the places that you should remember: 2, 4, 7, 8, and 12. From the Lagna or Moon or Venus. This is the reason why this dosham is so common. Once in 45 days, for every 45 days, you have the Mars changing its place. I mean, it moves from one Rasi to another Rasi. And after every 45 days, it changes the Rasi. And its position from the Lagna, if it is in the 2nd, 4th, 7th, 8th, or 12th, or wherever Moon is present in the horoscope, from Moon you count 2, 4, 7, 8, 12, or from the placement of Venus you count 2, 4, 7, 8, 12. In any of these places, if Mars is present, the probability of which is very high, you say that the individual suffers from Mangal Dosha, or he or she is Manglik, or he has Kuja Dosham in the horoscope. So what happens when Mars is placed in these houses? The effects are not the same. Of course, the consequence would be the same. Relationships will be hampered. Marital happiness will not be commendable. the chances of the couples getting separated or staying under the same roof, but then they differ in their opinions, there wouldn't be happiness among the couples if there is Kuja Dosham. So consequence would be the same, but there can be a difference based on the placement of Mars. Let us see how that happens. If the Mars is in the first house, I said some astrologers also consider the placement of Mars in the first house to confer Kuja Dosham to an individual. So if it is present in the first house, the individual may be quarrelsome, will be dominating. If it is placed in the second house represents the mouth, speech. So the way the individual speaks would be harsh. If the speech is harsh, obviously it would break the relationships. If it is placed in the fourth house, and these placements are from the Lagna or Moon or Venus, from any of these, from the Lagna or any of those two grahas, Moon or Venus, when the placement is either at the first, second, fourth, seventh, eighth, or 12th, these are the consequences. If the Mars is placed in the fourth house from Lagna or from Moon or from Venus, the person would be emotionally aggressive. So they wouldn't stick to anything for a long period of time. They keep changing places. So it would affect their career also. They may not stick to one particular profession also. So they become emotionally aggressive, and that would lead to changes, constant changes, frequent changes. If the Mars is present in the seventh house, there would be differences of opinion with the family members. If the Mars is placed in the eighth house, it could result in early death, premature death of the mate. One might become a widower or a widow. If it is placed in the 12th house, there could be financial losses. There could be enemies. In any of these cases, there wouldn't be happiness in the house. So these are the effects of Mars being placed in different houses. Now look at the percentage of Kuja Dosham. It's not the same when Mars is placed in any of these houses. If it is placed in the 8th house, the percentage is 100. If it's in the Lagnam, it's 50%. If it's in the 7th house, it's 25%. The 4th house, 12.5%. In the 2nd and 12th houses, it is 6.6%. So the quantum of Kuja Dosham is not the same when Mars is placed in any of the houses which are mentioned. It varies. So when you look for a partner in marriage, an individual with Kuja Dosham should marry another individual with Kuja Dosham. That is mandatory. That's mandatory because there should be a scope for the opponent, for the partner, to withstand the aggressive behavior of the partner. So for that, the other person also should possess certain quantum of energy. That doesn't mean if one marries a person with one who has a Kuja Dosham in the horoscope, marries a person with Kuja Dosham, they will lead their life happily. No, it won't be that way. Difference of opinion would still be there, but the effect can be lessened. It would not be so that one person becomes the scapegoat. So there will be a kind of equality where the other person can counter the aggressive behavior, the domination. It would not be one person dominating completely over the other. But definitely an individual with Kuja Dosham, though he or she marries another individual with Kuja Dosham, their married life will not be filled with happiness all the time. There will be difference of opinion. So look at this horoscope. This is Albert Einstein's horoscope. This is the ascendant in Gemini, and Mars is in Capricorn. Remember this placement, okay? Now here, the degrees are not given, but if you look at the Bhava chart, if you look at this Rasi chart, you would see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mars is in the 8th house, but it is not in the 8th house as per the Bhava chart. It's actually in the 7th. In any case, there is Kuja Dosham in Einstein's chart. The point to be noted is look at the placement of Mars. Mars is in Capricorn. Remember this. Mars being in Capricorn is the exalted state for Mars. Why am I talking about this? Let's go a slide further, then you would understand. This part I have already covered in the previous slide. The impact of Kuja Dosham when you have Mars being placed on all those respective houses, there would be constant quarrels between husband and wife. They wouldn't agree on one point. So there would be a lot of emotional stress, and depending upon the percentage of aggressiveness in a particular individual, the fight could also become physical. You see, in some cases, you see wife beating is an offense. And in some countries, it's the commonest offense. So that physical abuse and all is due to Mars. Mars is not in a good position, there'll be no happiness. So because of the spouse's behavior, the individual may find life to be very difficult, and this could also lead to separation. Many couples may get separated. There would be divorces. A remarriage may also not fetch any happiness. So now there are certain myths about Kuja Dosha. That's the reason why I said you just make a note of Einstein's horoscope. Mars is present in Capricorn. You would find this data over internet, that if Kuja Graha or Mars is placed in the 4th house or 7th house, and it is present in Mesha, that is Aries, in Karka, which is Cancer, Vrishika, which is Scorpio, or Makara, which is Capricorn, it will be beneficial to the native. It is not so. You will find this kind of data in many places. Dhanu in 12th, Vrishika in 4th, Makara in 7th, Karkataka or Karka in 8th are some positions that can nullify the effect of Mangalik dosha. It cannot. It doesn't. Makara is the exalted house of Kuja. So irrespective of the house, Kuja in Makara causes no problem and is a favorable positioning. It is not. Only if you have Jupiter's aspect on Mars, there is a possibility of the Kuja dosha being lessened. It would not get completely nullified. It may be lessened. So if you have read about Einstein's personal life, he was a great scientist, no doubt about it. But if you have read about his personal life, you would know that his married life was not happy. It was not one marriage. He had more than one marriage, but still his marital life was not filled with happiness. And that is because of the Mars's position. Mars being present in its exalted sign could not confer any happiness to Einstein's married life. So you would come across content of this sort, but with over a period of time with practice, you would realize that these things, the placement of Mars in such houses or such rashis will actually not nullify the effect. Only Jupiter's aspect has the power to lessen the effect. It would not completely remove it. So what are the remedies for Kuja dosha? What can you do? The best thing that one can do is chant Hanuman Chalisa. Worship Lord Hanuman and chant Hanuman Chalisa. And if you want to please Hanuman, the easiest way is to worship Lord Rama. So you can read Rama Raksha Stotram every day and Hanuman Chalisa. So on Tuesdays, you can fast. If you can fast, please do. Go to a Hanuman temple, offer your prayers there. And an important point that you should know is those with Kuja dosha should not marry early in life. The Kuja dosha by itself will get lessened. The intensity will get reduced after 28th year. So after 28 years, if one marries, the effect may not be as prominent as it would be when the individual is younger. So early marriages are not recommended for people with Kuja dosha. And the remedy, as I told you, is to worship Hanuman. Hanuman Chalisa can do wonders. So it's the same thing. This data in the slide that you see is the same that I've just mentioned. So after 28 years, see, your behavior also changes with age. The quantum of anger that you get over trivial matters when you're young, the way you lose your temper, it changes after 28 years. You get to know a lot about the worldly matters, your wisdom increases, and then you get a little pacified after 28 years. So that is when the effect of Mars in a Manglic horoscope gets reduced. So after 28 years of age, one can think of getting married. But then you should choose a partner who also has Kuja Dosham. That would not completely nullify the effect, but it can be lessened. So this is about Kuja Dosham. Any comment that you want to make, please do in the comment box. And if you like the video, please do share. Until the last video, I posted my videos in Telugu, and upon the request of some viewers and also my master's recommendation, I'm posting videos in English. So please do share the videos to whomever you feel would be interested and benefited. I'll meet you in the next session. Have a nice day.